Hi peeps, and welcome to part 2 with David Driver. And in part 2, this is all about the owls. David's owls. So, how are you then, David? Have you been all right?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm still out owling. So, basically, I think we left the last episode with my wildlife pictures.
With all the wildlife.
Yeah. So the reason
this
is, why did I go back into owls? Why did I stop shooting the wildlife? Because there's plenty to do, and I was thoroughly enjoying it. Well, you know what happened a few years ago? Big COVID came, shut us all down.
Yeah.
So I was doing 4 or 5 trips out to Africa and going all around the world, having a whale of a time shooting things and really enjoying myself. And all of a sudden I was locked down, couldn't go anywhere. I've got a bit of land of my own, which I play around with, which I spent a lot of time there. But I like getting out as well. So I used to creep out and through the barriers, as it were. I thought, right, well, what can I shoot? The COVID time coincided with the R5, Canon R5 coming out, which is supposed to be this magical wildlife camera. And I thought, so I'd got myself one of those, and I was dying to have a go with it, and I couldn't go anywhere. So what do I do? So I've always liked birds, in particular owls. I think just owls, and now I'm ridiculously obsessed with owls. Crikey, they're such characters. They're such incredible hunters and birds, and I am absolutely mesmerised every time. I've been doing it 5 years now, and I am absolutely obsessed with them. I set myself owls as a challenge for A, because I think they're incredible birds, but B, they're at the limits of everything. They really push you, and I like to give myself a challenge. So most of them are nocturnal, or they're certainly in the dusk hours. So you've ultimately got a light problem. If you've got a light problem, then you're compromising, like we always do, with a triangle of light ISO, speed, ISO, and f-stop. And you've got all those things fighting. You need a bit of depth of field, especially birds in flight. You need a bit of shutter speed for birds in flight. You've not got any light. You've got all these problems to overcome. So I thought it's going to be a good challenge, this. So in the year of COVID, I set myself a challenge to shoot all 5 British, the UK owls. There's 5 species in the UK. To shoot all 5 perched and in flight. That was my goal in the first year. And I failed miserably. I got 4 in flight and perched, which, looking back at now, they're not what I'm doing now, but they were okay. It's difficult finding them, and then you've got to try to learn the movements, learn the habitat, and then you tend to find that they do the similar sort of things in it. Then you try to position yourself in a place where you can think they're going to go. And then, like we were talking about in the last episode, telling stories and the play of light, I try to compose the picture, which in wildlife is almost impossible, but you can do it, to compose a picture, which makes my shots a little bit different, I think, because I don't just go and do a record shot. I try to tell a story through that. Yeah. So, I got 4 of them. The only one I couldn't get was the Tawny owl, which bizarrely is Britain's most common owl. So that's the owl. When you hear the twit-to-woo, that's the Tawny one. Is a Tawny. And it's the 2 birds. One's calling to it, and the other's answering to woo. So you've
got two on back of me.
And he said it's a pair of them. One does to it, one answers, and that's what. So if you hear the twit to woo, there's a pair there. So nice. I thought, right, well, that's one I couldn't get, and I couldn't bloody find them anywhere. So, as I mentioned earlier, I bought this farm, and then I kept buying bits of land as time went on. And 25 years ago now, I planted a woodland, little 10-inch whips on a couple of acres of land. And these things have grown like trees do. And it's incredible. 25 years on, I've got 30, 40-foot trees, and it's all indigenous plant. It's going to be ash and oak and elm in the end, but I've got growers like cherry and hawthorn and birch to row and to get them all brought up.
Give it a bit dense,
environment now, which the Tawny owls were going into. And I thought, right, I could hear them. I couldn't really find them to photograph. So me and my grandson made a Tawny owl box, and with great pleasure I hung it in a tree that I planted 25 years ago, which was fantastic. And within 3 days, I had a Tawny owl in the box.
My God! In 3 days.
3 days. Not resident, but it was in the box. And I was cutting my hedge. I heard this noise. I thought, I know what that is. Went on the other side. Went to the box. That can't be. You're dreaming. They sat in the box right in front of me. So, and that was probably about November time. Well, the Tawny's one of the earliest owls to breed, so they'll be sort of breeding maybe late January, early February, start of March, well before the others. And I put some cameras up in the trees, and as you mentioned again, I got a lot of Instagram followers, so I tend to get things given, and I got some really nice cameras given put up in my trees and from Rio Link. Mention. So I put all these cameras up, and I just watched them come in and out, and then in the February, March, they laid 4 eggs, and then I just watched the chicks come out. And I think I sent you a video which you might want to stick.
Video.
One of the babies leaving the nest for the first time, which is absolute magical.
Yeah. What we'll do, we'll put that at the end,
right,
with all the images again.
Okay, mate.
So yeah. We'll do that as well. But we mentioned owls, so we've got to share some of these, haven't we?
Okay, mate. Well, there's 5
Definitely.
so take your pick.
So there we go.
Right. Well, that one, good choice. That's another of my favourites. That isn't in a traditional. I mean, the Tawny owls, well, all birds. The nest isn't the house as such. It's basically a crib where they bring up the young. They don't live there all year round. So once sort of March, April comes, and the birds, the young of owlets have come out the box. That's it. They don't really go back. They'll hang around. And Tawny's, unlike a lot of the other owls, I mean, a barn owl will kick its young out after a couple of months. The Tawny owl will stick with it right until September, feed it all that time. And then what happens in September is they'll kick the young out. And that's why you hear all this commotion, September, October, November. That's why you hear them a lot. It's all the young going out, trying to find their own roosting spots, nesting spots. And the others saying, hey, get lost, this is my woodland. That's where all the commotion.
All right.
So anyway, they left, and then we got a particular wet year the other year, bouncing down with rain, and I got my little cameras up.
I can see that, yeah.
My cameras are triggered to say that there was something happening. I looked on and I saw this little fella completely wet through, having a bit of shelter on the box. So I think it was quite late, and I went down in my pajamas and the camera, ridiculously dark, propped the camera up against the tree, and that shot again at something like a 20th of a second. I mean, it's paid off because I've got the lights, the rain streaks, I've got the lovely bounce off the thing. But handheld, silly shutter speed just to try to get it, because I was wide open at low shutter speed, and and just you know where to go. But again, it's going to be, and it's quite unusual because he'd gone in there just to have a bit of shelter, and then once he'd had his shelter, sometimes they use the boxes as a larder. So once the chicks have gone, they'll take small songbirds and mice and things back in. I had one actually take a rabbit. He flew in with a baby rabbit and put a rabbit in that.
What?
Yeah. Again, I've got that on video. The rabbit. And so they'll use it as a larder and go back for that reason. But again, they don't live in it as such. But he just gone back. Or she or he just come back for a little visit and keep out the rain. So that is well, I'm not sure which one that is because it's so wet. But we've named them the male we call Timber and the female we call Treacle, and they're the two in the.
All right.
All the babies were named after trees, so that willow and ash. I mean, it goes on, but So that's either Timber or Treacle. And as I say, although they're in the woodland, I know exactly where they are. They're still a bugger to find. Yeah. You just can't find them. They're incredibly well camouflaged, and they go under the premise of right. Well, I can see you. I know you can't see me. So whenever I sit here, I'm safe. So they don't. Yeah. They just sit and stare at you, thinking they just believe in the camouflage. And
it certainly works, doesn't it?
Kind of, it works, yeah. And you do find them, but 9 times out of 10, you just walk straight past them.
Saying that, I got told that there were a couple of owls near me, and I've been out many a time, and they hide in the walls. So there's two babies.
Little owls.
Someone saw them, photographed it, told me about it. I went to have a look for it. I could not find them.
They'll have been watching you.
They even gave me the 3 words of where they were, and I could not find them.
No, they are. It's a battle to find in the first place, and then to photograph them, and then to get some decent pictures is, it's I've been doing photography years and years and years, and when I started with wildlife, it was a bit of a learning curve from the landscape, different issues, different problems. I mean, with the landscape, the weather plays a big part, and you wait for light to hit the landscape. But if you get a decent app or a good weather forecast, you're sort of halfway there. Whereas with animals, they do what the hell they want. There's no, and you may have a perfect picture in your head, and the light, and then they go in the wrong place. So it's a nightmare. So a big learning curve there. But then when I got into this, it's different again. And I was useless. It took a lot of getting used to. It's really, really tricky. And anyone who shoots birds is, got my utmost respect. It's a tricky old subject.
Yeah, absolutely. But this one, it's absolutely stunning. Let's go on to the next one anyway.
Right. So this is one I shot the middle of last year, and it's an old broken down tree where, well, lucky enough, someone told me that they thought they'd seen an owl in it, and I went every night for days and days and days, and sure enough, there was an owl kept coming out just around sunset, and then he'd fly off, get some food, come back in, and he was feeding the female. And then as weeks went by, a lot of weeks went by, and then the young started you could hear them, and then they started coming out to be fed and sitting on the thing. The beauty of this is the direction the hole in the tree was facing was the same place as the sun set. So you can imagine how many times went back to get. But I think there's some more of this series later. I don't know if later these or not, but there's some more where the sun just goes in just the right place and it lights that hole in an air up in like orange. It's beautiful. But again, to get that, it's night after night after night after night. And then you've got other issues like farmers who don't really want you being there, and I'd rather you not be anywhere near their field. So you're sort of hiding from them, and then you get people who are sort of walking past and say, "What are you doing?" and you don't really want to tell them, and you don't want to talk. And there's a million problems. To deal with, but that particular tree was actually like a Game of Thrones. This beautiful visual object with these little spikes. And when those guys came up, and there was 3 of them altogether, and they'd come up. I've got some shots with all 3, and some with 2, and then some with a 1. And then they'd sit in the bottom and they'd just peep down. And I'd just lay in the grass in front of it, and I'd have to be there an hour before I knew they were going to come out. And then I'd just wait and wait and wait, and hope they came out. Some nights they did, some nights they didn't. But the later it went on, the more they came out, and I got some magic moments.
Yeah. It's your patience again, isn't it, for these shots?
Well,
it's patiently scouting.
And I tell you, I'm not a patient person at all. When there's a couple of lads who helped me right at the start, give me advice about bird photography and locations, and they say they sit by a tree for 3 hours. Oh, you're mad, but you're crackers. You don't catch me doing that. Oh, I'd spend a week by there. It's incredible. And I am not a patient person. I never have been. This has made me patient. And it's a different sort of thing. You sit there and you wait, but you hope there's going to be some end result to it. And then there's not. But you go back again the next day, and you go back again, you go back again, you go back again. Just for that magic moment when you get that shot. And it's so much sweeter when you've had a few failures. And the light's just right, and the bird's just right, and everything's just right. And it's just a beautiful shot. But with the owls, to get that beautiful shot is a lot harder, because so many things have got to come together. You've got to have that right weather. You've got the right light. They've got to be out at the right time. They've got to fish in the right direction. They've got to be out when you want them. And you might have beautiful weather and no owls. It happens loads of times. Perfect weather, no owls. Loads of owls, terrible weather. You can't get a shot. It's getting it all to come together, which is ridiculously difficult. But
which it certainly has come together with this one. This is absolutely. And another Barney.
So this one, again, not necessarily the best or sharpest shot I've ever done. It was one of the early shots I did, but it's a real special shot for me because it's the first time I got really close to a barn owl. And I saw that bird land on that post, and weather was a bit cool. But when the weather's cool, they lose more calories flying to try to hunt than they do actually when they catch. So what they tend to do is they'll sit on a post and they'll watch what goes by. And then if they see something, they'll dive down. And it just conserves energy. So I've seen this guy land on this post at least 3 fields away. And I thought, I wonder if I can sneak up on him. So first field, no problem on the dry stone walls. Second field, not too bad, up and down. Got to the last field, and it's like posted right in the middle of the field. I thought, it's going to be difficult as this. And it was a field full of cows. And I got behind a cow, and I had my lens on the back of this cow's back. And I walked up with the cow up to this thing and got these shots. And it stayed there without any problem at all about me being there. obviously likes cows. And I managed to think to myself, right, well, there's a blue sky there, and there's the colour of the grass, and I even could compose it where I could get the sky and the tones of the grass breaking through it, and compose a shot exactly as I wanted it. So yeah, it's not the best shot, but it's a very, very special shot to me. Is that because
it's and using a cow pod.
Yeah, cow pod. Yeah,
but yeah, again, it's that story behind the images as well.
It is, and I love a story. I like stories about anything, but it's always have a special spot for them. That shot for that very.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Snipping up behind the cow, yeah.
Absolute beauty.
Yeah.
And this one, when you sent these through out of the barn owls, this one got me.
Yeah.
Just because of the eyes.
Yeah. Look at the eyes of the and the thing is about this, you know, the owl, it doesn't look vicious or angry. It just looks almost like a sacrifice, isn't it? It looks quite respectful of it. It's
as if it's just picking up the mouse to place it somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, really gently done, and like he's got respect for it. And I know you make these stories. I make these stories up, and it's sort of, you know, build it up in your head. It makes the thing more powerful for you. But it's just there's a grace about that, and I get a whole series of these where it's just a beauty. It's almost like a sculpture. Just how it's just formed.
Yeah, it is.
And
yeah.
Just look, and the little mouse was looking straight at you, thinking like, okay, well, you know, I'm dead, but I've been passed to get out.
But it's just like you say, it's a very storytelling shot, but very graceful as well.
Yeah, it's got
it's a very powerful shot. Is this?
And I was really lucky with this because this is a barn I found that these barn owls have been in, and I visited for 2 or 3 years. And it's strange because normally what happens is that the parents will kick the young out, and then the parents will go back year after year after year, and it's quite a common thing that they keep going back. In this particular barn, the parents always left, and the young ones stayed in the nest. But there was always a nest there year after year. It was a hole in a barn wall, and there was always a nest there. And I reckon to say they got to know you, but I think they did get to know I was no harm to them, and I could get really close, and they didn't seem to be bothered at all, and I could enjoy seeing what how they lived.
What happened?
And I'm desperately close with these, and you see every feather detail. I mean,
yes.
I mean, I'm in camouflage, and I'm very, very still and quiet. And again, I could sit on this barn windowsill for a couple of hours before the thing came out. I mean, sometimes at one point, with 1 year, you could almost set your clock by it. You know, at 7 o'clock it'd be out, and that'd be it. Other times you'd wait and you'd wait and you'd wait hours now and hours for it to come out, and then something had happened, and it was all you got paid off. But I was lucky. I had 2 or 3 years out of this, and then last year, the person who owned it had gone into a nursing home. They died. It was sold on, and it's been converted now, and it's all that.
Right.
All that magic's gone.
So so the owls have moved on somewhere now. Then,
But what a sight that was! Just beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
And to get so close with the young and see what was happening, and see them in all weathers and all conditions.
Yeah. And this one.
Well, this again is the same place, and the male barn owl had gone off to catch a vote. They're fantastic hunters. I mean, the short-eared owls, the long-eared owls, they'll dive and miss and spend half the day doing no. This guy, he could get. I think we counted 16 voles an hour he was catching. He'd go in, he'd feed, he'd go off out, he'd catch, he'd come back. So we were sat there and we were just shot after shot after shot, flying in, feeding, flying. And he'd gone off one day, and I was sat a bit of a distance away, and I heard a bit of a commotion. I thought, that were fast. You know, I'd seen him fly out, and I thought he must be coming back. Bit fast, but must be coming back. Put my camera up, and to be honest, I started shooting these before I realised what was happening. But what happened? This kestrel come in and thought, oh, it's a bit of an easy take that, and it's quite. It happens quite often. The kestrels come in, and it's easy for them to steal from the barn owl than hunt for themselves. So he'd come down and he was trying to steal, and I got a whole series of these. In fact, these were in national papers. He did quite well. I got a whole series of maybe 50, 60 images of it actually trying to steal it. And the actual barn owl, the barn owl won in the end because it went to ground, it dived down, and it swooped back up again, and it pulled itself free. But incredible set that I got purely by being there. And I'd been shooting the owl on a much narrower depth of field, and then it all happened in a moment, and I shot it, and then I put my camera, I thought, crikey, that was incredible. Still wasn't quite sure what I'd got. And I thought, oh, crikey, I'm on 2.8 or, well, wooden birds is going to be soft. Looked at the shot, I thought, oh, sharp, I don't understand that. And without even knowing it, I'd flipped it down to 9. And I didn't even know I'd done it. It's got muscle memory. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I moved it down to F9 and I shot it, and I didn't even know I'd done it. And I would, I hadn't done it. But yeah, it gave me this set of incredible moments.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your go-to settings?
To start with,
He doesn't know.
well, yeah, that's a good point. I always start off with 1,250 of a second shutter speed at 5.6, as long as my ISO is reasonable. If my ISO is not reasonable, I might do it down to 1,000 or fiddle. But that's what I tend to start off on. That's what my camera's set at when I go out anyway. It's always set to that for when I get there, and then I'll adapt to the conditions. So if I can get away with it, I'll give it a bit more depth of field. Now, I've been shooting on the 300 and 2.8 and the 600 prime lenses. I've always shot on a prime lens, and Canon brought out a lens last year, fairly recently, and it was a 200 to 800 zoom, which I've never used a zoom. I thought, oh, that sounds quite useful, does that? Downside was it was f9, and I thought, oh, everyone's going, oh, it's no good, f9 lens in this country is no good. I thought, well, I go to Africa a fair bit, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it was £2,000, which for a lens is very, very cheap compared to sort of like £8-9 you're paying for primes.
Yeah.
So I bought one and I used it in Africa, and I've used it not on this, but I've used it since. And because I'm tied to f9, it's maybe shoot at f9, and it's vastly improved my shots because you've got that more depth of field and everything's a little bit sharper. Now, I got the R5 Mark II recently as well, so so it's probably a bit of that as well. But I'm still convinced that. So now my go-to settings have moved up. I always leave it at 5.6 when I go out to the field, but if I can, I'll give it a bit more depth of field at the price, more ISO, because cleanup now is a lot easier than it used to be. You can get away with.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the denoise is fantastic.
You can get away with murder, yeah. So, and this is going back to that original barn. The first year we'd been there, I'd been watching, and I knew the chicks were in the hole. And this was an absolute magic moment. I went down with a mate of mine, and we'd been staying up on the road at this point. We hadn't actually been down to the barn. Got down to the barn, and we sat outside the barn, and we could hear a noise and wonder what it was. And I thought, there's something going on there. And we're about to go, and I looked over the wall, and these two were sat on the beam in the barn. And straight out of it, you can see all the bits of debris on the little one's chest.
Yeah.
Could come out of the nest. Still got the baby fluff on, and they were just sat on the beam. And there was 4 of them. As the group, I got some with all 4 together, but there's just these 2, and they just sat there. And they'd obviously just come out of the nest. No idea what human was. No idea there was any danger there or potential danger there. And they just sat and looked at us. And we shot this on a 200 lens, 15 foot away from it. Absolutely no problem at all. And then we walked away and left them on the beam. And thought, right, I just thought, crack, I've had this moment. It's magic, I got my bit. And again, that was in my first year, and there's not so much detail in those as I'm getting now. With barn owls now, I always shoot a little bit over, so a little bit under, so I've got a bit more detail.
Yeah,
on the white bird. So I'm normally a third of a stop under now all the time for barn owls. But on this, I wasn't, so it's burnt out a little bit on certain areas. But yeah, it's another magic moment. Big feat.
Yeah, you'd never tell, but yeah, absolutely fantastic out of these.
Yeah, pretty little birds there. So that is the same barn again. The last year that it was being used. That's the male coming back, and there's this lovely old rusting pipe. All the roof's gone in, but there's this rusting beam behind it and this rusting pipe, which I just love that with a red brick. And the tones work beautifully. And I'd set up for this shot, and it kept landing on the beam. And then when the builders came in to move, to start doing the renovation work, which by rights I shouldn't have done because they're protected, although the government seem to be waiving all sorts of animal wildlife rules now just to get the building plans through. Another story for another time. But all the roof beams had gone. It had nowhere to land. So it had to land on this post. So I set myself up originally with the tracking camera, which just allowed me to show where where he was, what time he was landing there, and then I went in and squatted down and waited for him to come and do. But I just love the tones on that one. I love the red brick, the rust.
Yeah, goes really well, doesn't it?
It's like a studio set. You couldn't have made it any better, could you? Really?
No.
Not one bit. Not with that.
Another thing about that is the light on a night. It comes in on there, dapples it a little bit, and then goes off it completely, which is good. It gives you little light patterns. It also means you don't burn the detail in the bird. And what it really came in use, I'm not sure I put a shot in, but what it was really useful for is if you set up in that position, when the sun went off that wall went black, but the bird flying in was still white. So you could have this lovely, white bird with detail.
Yes, I think you have put one in, so we'll probably see that one later on.
Against the dark background, yeah.
Yeah. And this one, another catch.
Again, it's same, with a little vole this time. And that was one, again, on its last year. And the guy had been a bit funnier originally about me going down there, which is fair enough. He just bought it. He was doing his conversion. He knew it was maybe a bit controversial. I kept nudging him saying I went to go down and put cameras in and he wasn't having none of it. I'd had cameras in before without permission, but there was nobody there. So anyway, I thought about asking him, said he'd bought it, he was doing it up. And he said no a few times. And then in the end, he sort of softened. Oh, I think I said, I'll send you some pictures or something. I can't remember what I said. But anyway, he softened and let me go down and put a camera up. So I was aware what was happening was going on. And the builders were there and they did cause a bit of disturbance. But they were pretty good, really. All the birds fledged apart from one. I think the mother had taken the young out a little bit earlier than she would normally done and left the youngest one there, and that perished. Which is a real shame. But this particular shot, getting back to this particular shot, the builders were there, and they parked the digger right outside the barn. Now, I'm going to be careful what I say now because the guy might be listening. He might watch you. So I went down and I sat on the half track of the digger. So I was hidden by the digger or camouflaged with the digger. And that wall, that's the barn wall, which was 10 foot in front of me. Very, very close. Oof. And it was just coming in, landing on the wall. And there's lovely bits of grass growing on the wall and this lump of concrete. And he kept coming in, sitting on there. And again, I've got a whole series of these. I've got series where he's picking it up and picking it up. In these talons are incredible, like platinum. Yeah. Amazing. And incredible opportunities given from that. So we made the best of it right up to the end. I've not been up for this year to see what's happening. I know the barn's been converted now. So the farmhouse has been converted. The barn hasn't. So I don't know quite what's going on.
Yeah. This is your ideal image, isn't it? This is what you're after, the barn owl.
Yeah.
But you see behind that little dark mark just behind to the left of the owl. That's the hole in the wall where they live. So they live in that hole. And then, so at this point, this year, I could sit on the digger and the young were coming out to this hole, peeping their heads out, waiting for Dad to come back. So it was just magic. Magic sight. And I went far too many times and hours and hours and hours spent there. But I'm so glad I did now because it's gone.
Definitely. It's been well worth it, hasn't it? Well worth it.
The barn owl's one of my favourites.
They are. Well, I like them all, and I tend to. My favourite tends to be the one I can't find, but I suppose realistically they are stunning birds, the barn owls. And when you see them wet, they're so vulnerable. Yeah, this is what I was telling you about. So this is in the same place. So he's flying in to the hole, but the wall behind's gone completely black. That's the same brick wall because it's gone into shadow, and then I've exposed for the bird. I have jiggled it a bit as well, so I'll knocked a bit more black in, but. I've exposed for the bird. That's gone dark, and I've enhanced it. But basically, that's how I got those shots. And I had a series of those with mice in the mouth and goodness knows what in lovely wing positions, flying into the hole against that black wall. Really, really useful little tool. That. Yeah. Bird in light and dark shadow behind.
Yeah, it's like a fine art image. This one.
Yeah, I've got some where the eye. In fact, I couldn't really find it because I was looking for it. I've got the eye between the feathers, which I really like. So it's peeping through its feathers.
And this one.
Yeah, so that's up.
How soft is that?
That's up in north. Look at the look on it. It just looks such a sad little face, doesn't it? And
it does, doesn't it? Yeah,
such a story, isn't it? It's just. I feel so connected with him. That little fella, and he's sat there waiting for his dad to come back. So that's in in a box on the side of a barn up in North Yorkshire that's been occupied most years, and there was 3 or 4 young in that one, and Dad. I said I've got some lovely shots of the first time he flew out with his dad, and I've got the two of them flying out together. But that particular way, he was waiting for his dad to come back, and it's surrounded by loads of conifer trees, and the conifer trees were dappling the light, so you couldn't really do a shot like that. You just had to spray it and hope that one of them would catch the light, would catch its face. But yeah, it's quite
yes, absolute.
yeah.
Some of these are absolute. Well, all these absolutely.
In fairness, again,
fantastic.
talking about editing, which I don't often do.
Yeah.
I just open a can of worms with people, but I'm beyond caring now. Really, there was another owl in front of him in shadow, which was distracting, which I've taken out completely. So,
yeah,
but
it's like Eli mentioned on the last episode, though. You're taking them for yourself. You're creating the image for yourself.
And I get a lot of trolls on internet and a lot of hate thing. It's pathetic, really. But there's people who just write blogs about me just for fun of it, you know. And it's a joke. And I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm doing these for myself. If people buy it, brilliant. If they don't, I honestly don't care. And it's for me.
Yeah.
I'm creating an image I love. And if I want to take a 30 hours face out, I'll take it out.
Exactly.
So this is back to that original tree, and you can see how the light's catching there. And this was one of my favourite spots last year. And I go down to this tree quite a lot. And the number of times I'd go down, and the cloud bank would come over just before the light hit it. And it's quite a distance away. You can't get that close because I found it was a bit of a funny one. So you sort of stuck with what you got.
Yeah.
But wonderful spot.
But again, it's its face.
Yeah.
Sort of peering down and looking at you. Looking all peaceful again.
When these will only be a couple of months old, these barn owls, and they're very unaware of things. I mean, I know animals have this instinct of danger and picking things up, but they're just, from my experience, which I've read about 5 years of a lot of time with owls, and when they're this young, they just trust you. They just, I mean, if you start jumping up and down, throwing things at me, I suspect so. But I mean, if you're 20, 30 foot away, and it's the movement, they don't like fast movement and noise. If you stay still and gentle movements, they're just happy. Just happy to sit there.
Yeah.
And the expression, because again, it's not about a record shot of a bird. I'm trying to get past that. I'm trying to tell a story and get into the actual feeling.
They've all got different personalities, haven't they?
That's it. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. Thank you. Personality, and it talks and does that. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it really does. It's like another soft image, isn't it? It really is.
Right.
And this made me laugh when I saw this.
Well, this is one that I sent late on, and I said, look, I'll bung this one in because it's got a story to it. So this is quite funny. This is that same barn again, which again, if I find a good spot, I'll tend to stick with it. So this is, I'd gone down the side of the wall because I knew these little guys, when they were going to be fed, they used to stick their heads out. So I'd gone down the side of the wall, crouched in, and he stuck his head out looking for his dad coming. And I'm making squeaking noises. Making squeaking noises. He was looking around to see what was making a noise. That's why he turned around like that. So I got those shots. Absolutely loved them. And they went to my agent, and they sell a few. And I sell through Getty Images. And this had gone on to Getty. And an Australian advertising agency had seen the image and wanted to use it for one of their clients. But at Getty, it only went up to, I don't know, 36 inch image. And they went to use it for a billboard. So she found me on Instagram, got in touch with me and said, do you have it as a bigger resolution? I said, well, yeah, I do, because I've got gigapixel, of course I have, yeah. So I said, yeah, I can sort you that out. Shall I go through the agency or shall I go direct with you? I said, no, go direct with me, because obviously they've got the big file and I don't have to give them any commission. So I sold it to this agency who paid handsomely for it and never batted an eyelid, so I pretty could have got some more. So this went up in a billboard in Perth, like huge billboard in an intersection. So I think I put it on Facebook and I put
yes, you have, yeah.
Local barn owl seen in Australia, which is not particularly. Yeah, so look at the eyes. Because
it's just
the barn owls they've got that dark eyes, but if they catch the light, they're like balls, like
yeah. they've got their own personality, haven't they? The faces are all different.
Incredible, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
really.
you get all the feathers around the disc, because that facial disc.
The disc, yeah, you're saying.
Facial disc. That's what they use to hunt with. It's like a radar dish. So they've got offset ears, one a bit higher than the other. So when the sound comes into this facial disc, because they offset ears, that they can pinpoint to a millimetre where the prey is. And they can change this disc. They can manipulate it for different weather conditions and different things. But yeah, all the detail in that, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And this one.
Again, backlight, one of my favourites. You can catch a cold quite easily with it because you can easily go wrong, but when it comes right, and you get that lovely silhouette around the mouse. And
yeah,
I just love it. Yeah, and that softness on the grass again.
Yeah, it's like a ring lighting, isn't it? Ring lighting effect.
Yeah, but difficult to control because it flares quite easy. You've got you take quite a lot of pictures and you get some that are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one or two.
Yeah, hopefully.
So you know what you're going to be, Daniel, you're going to be doing up in Lake District this year?
I'd love to, but it's like I say, it's locating them and scouting them and learning the mannerisms.
You need a lot of life. You need a lot of hours. It's mad.
I haven't got that.
Yeah. Right, so
and
again,
the trio.
One of my favourite ones. So that's in the barn, maybe the second year when all the three had come out. And that's two females and a male. The females have got the speckly chest on the front, and you can tell that the little brown bib on the front is a giveaway that they're young. So all the young had come out, and as I say, they used to come out and sit on this beam and then wait to be fed. And I spent hours and hours and hours saying, "God, just jiggle up a bit, and then you get two, and this one, well, there's four altogether, which I didn't actually get until a lot later on, but I got this three, which I was absolutely delighted with. Again, I wasn't exposing correctly, so it's a little bit light on the face, but yeah, up to that point, that beam was there, and it was a real easy place to shoot. And then those beams were pulled out, and they went onto the pipe, but.
And again, they've all got different facial features, haven't they? They're all different.
In a height order as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you spent hours there.
This one on one leg in the middle playing a pirate.
Yeah, get propped up either side.
Just bounce it. Yeah. No nice bit of symmetry.
Yeah. And
yeah,
this backlighting again.
Well, that's the one I sent you originally, and then again, I'm not happy with that because it's a bit soft in places, but it does what I want it to do. It's just not quite sharp. Again, it's all compromise, isn't it? And maybe I should have had a bit higher ISO and a bit faster shutter speed, but you live and learn as you go on. So it's sort of there, but not quite. And then the other one that we looked at before the backlit, I thought I'd achieved a better result for that. That's why I put that one in. But yeah, I mean, it tells a story. It does what I set out to do, and there's lovely light on it. It's just the shutter speed a little bit slow. And sometimes you pull it off, and sometimes you don't. But again, all little hairs around its light coming through.
Yes, and that mouse, it's just
it's
silhouetted into it with that ring lighting again.
Yeah. Again, tricky shots.
Yep. Yeah.
So this is a long-eared owl. Long-eared owl is supposed to be, well, it is. I mean, I've been very lucky with them, but it's supposed to be the rarest British owl to find. Very, very elusive owl. Purely nocturnal, the books will tell you. Never hunt in the daytime, which is rubbish, but they're not supposed to do. And I've been lucky enough to spend 2 or 3 years with these. And this is when I shot. Just after Christmas, between Christmas and the New Year, I was out.
All right.
And it was a really misty day, and this guy was sat on a fence post, and I went up to him, and he was sleeping, and his eyes shut. Never as nice with his eyes shut, but I sat with him for about 3/4 of an hour. And he obviously heard something rustle in the grass and opened his eyes, and he was looking round, and then he jumped up in the air. I know they jump up before they dive down, so. Again, I was on the 200 to 800 of this, so I pulled back a little bit and anticipating jumping up. He jumped up in the air, dived down into the grass, missed, flew up and flew straight towards me. And that's the shot. And I love that wing. I call it the Batman, that wing position. I absolutely love it. Tricky. You don't have to pull that wing position. It's quite hard to get shots like that. So I'm absolutely delighted with that. bit of fogness there, which gives a bit of atmosphere. But he flew towards me, circled around, and went and sat back on the same fence post. It's obviously not too good about me being there. He'd same again and missed. And then this time he went on to the next fence post. And over the next 40 minutes, he probably, half an hour, 40 minutes, he probably did 5 or 6 fence posts. And then eventually caught, flew back into a tree and ate them out in front of me. Yeah, incredible. And I got a lovely, again, 28 frames a second. You're going to get plenty. And to be perfectly truthful, not that I would admit it to most people, although I've now on on your webcast, I didn't actually know I'd got that shot until I got back, because I followed him down. It's pretty much uncropped, so it was filling the frame. I was just trying to keep him in the frame and not lose any bits. And I went down, came back up again. I knew I'd got something. I thought it might be nice. I've got a rule: I never look at shots in the field, although I break it now and then. But I try not to. I'm more about looking what the next shot's coming from and not getting involved with what I've already got or not got. So I didn't look at it. And in my head, it was a really good shot. And then it's always that nervous time when you get back and is it sharp? Is it what?
Is it sharp?
Again, it could be slightly sharp, I suppose, but I'm happy with that. It's straight to your eyes. I love those amber eyes they've got. They're just marvellous to watch. Marvellous to watch. So
and another rain shot.
Yeah, this is race. This is last week, was this? So this was sleety rain and a bit of fog. Found him on this one on a branch. All his feathers are wet at the bottom. Look, he puffed himself up because it was minus goodness. I was wet, blooming freezing, getting pissed wet through. And I don't normally like it with an eye shut, but I think that sort of adds a bit to it. He's sort of grimacing against the cold and the rain's coming down.
Yeah, he's sort of got his eyes slightly open, hasn't
he? Yeah, he was awake, but he wasn't happy about the situation, And this same location, shot this in June, and there was a fella, Kenny, who had talked a lot on the internet and never actually met, and he wanted to come up and I don't often share locations, but I'd been chatting to this guy for quite a long time, and I knew he was no idiot, I knew he was sort of a respectful sort of guy, and invited him to come up, and he came up one day, and I think someone was smiling down on us, and we had probably the best day I've had for months. And they just came and landed on branches. This guy flew in. I mean, he was 15 foot away, flew in and balanced on this branch right in front of me and Kenny. We just sat there and what. I mean, Kenny was blown away, which was great because I was hoping he was going to get some shots. He'd not seen them before, and. Did he go on with a bag full? And so did I. And he just. But look at that tiny branch. I mean, what?
You wouldn't think they'd be able to balance on something like that, would you?
There's lovely furry talons because they've got the fur right down to the bottom to keep themselves warm, and fur right down to the bottom of the talons, and he just comes in and then again 28 frames a second. The whole sequence of him coming in, but I really quite like that. I was about to balance, and then he perched up on top of there and stared at us for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe not 10 minutes, but 5 minutes.
You can just see the concentration in his face, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
He's really concentrating. If this goes wrong, I'm on the floor.
Yeah. Well, he's got a stick up to add his nether regions here. He's going to be careful of
that, but yeah.
And this is
another young one?
Yeah, that's a young one of the same, the long-eared owl. And when the chicks start branching, they call it, moving out from the nest, and they sit on branches and wait for the parents to feed them because they're still very dependent on being fed. And they sit out and then they call for food, which makes it a damn sight easier to find them than when you're just looking this time of year. And you've got these days you've got thermal binoculars which help, but it's still difficult to find them. But these guys call, and it can be a few hundred yards away. You just heard it call, and you sort of hone in on it, and there they are, just sit looking. And that was a wet, moist day. His feathers have caught a bit of the damp around his head. His eyes are glowing, and it's beautiful. And again, that lovely 2.8 soft book in the background breaking down. And
on your editing, do you do anything with the eyes? You do quite a bit of clarity and anything like that, or is it just?
I don't. I use on my landscapes. I always used to use sharpening, always sharpened. I don't know whether I've got better or whether the cameras have got better or what. I tend to find if I sharpen things now, it tends to look don't look right.
Right.
I think it sort of takes the softness off as well. So I tend not to do that. No. What I do a lot of is go into selective colour, and I play with the neutrals, blacks and whites, I don't often touch the colour, but on the neutrals, blacks and whites, and you can control detail a lot more through that than on contrast or sharpen or whatever. So I'll play with that. And if I've got an out of balance shot, I'll do it in 2 or 3 layers, and I'll bring the layers back together. But now I think if you over sharpen that lovely soft down on his chest, I think it just looks.
You lose it a bit.
Yeah. So this one, this is the second nest. I built the first nest box, which was the one with the rain. So then it was not very aesthetic looking, that nest box. So this is an old elm tree that was blew down in one of my fields end of last year. So I hauled it all out and built a box into it, and it's on a like a scaffold tower in the woodland. And again, I put that up, put a camera on it, and within a few days, they were sniffing around it. It was in last night. Actually. I think I posted a shot on my Instagram either last night or night before on my Facebook of him visiting, because it was a female that had come in, slightly bigger than the male, and I wasn't sure whether they were coming in for a bit of a shelter because it was -6, or whether they were looking for potential nest box for next year. But I've built a hide in front of this screens, and then as if from that sort of angle. It looks like it's a tree, doesn't it? You know, it's right enough. And again, nice. That'll be shot at 20th, 30th of a second, because it's just so dark in there. You know, it's yeah. So
you won't know that 20th of a second for owls.
Handheld, yeah. These are little owls. Again, real comic characters, and you know that magical barn I was telling you about, where the barn owl was in. In the same building, this is the same building, this is in the roof, and there's these 2 little owls. Well, there's 2 or 3 young, and there was obviously the male and the female, lived in the thing. And at first I knew about him. I was sat in this barn window waiting for the barn owl to come out, and someone landed, as in the mother of these 2, landed above my head on the lintel above my head, and was calling at me. And I couldn't get out because I couldn't get out the window to see it right above my head. So that's when I first knew they were there. And once I started looking for them, I felt really quite lucky. And I found them quite a lot. And then when the young came out, they're really comical characters, the young ones. And they'd sit on the dry stone walls and peep at me and jump up and down. And I had a great time with them. So yeah, in the same field. So there was a field with the barn in the barn. There was the barn owl and the little owls. And then in midsummer, in the same field, I've got a short-eared owl. So I've got 3 of the 5 species in one field. Which is just
that's something else. That's something else, isn't it?
I know, and it's gone. Depressing, isn't it?
Yeah. Unbelievable, really, isn't it?
They were nesting in the eaves of the farmhouse, which has now been re-roofed. So they've gone. Yeah. They've gone.
What were you going to say, Daz?
So these 2 here are exactly the same as what I were looking for in the dry stone.
That's what I said, little owls, because they'll nest in hay bales, dry stone walls, but the big dry stone walls. But they're right comical characters. And they're actually the only owl that aren't actual native of Britain. There's only 4 native. We've got 5 now. These were introduced by big landowners, turn of the century, I think it was. And as like a ornamental bird. And they took off very, very well and bred. But they're actually introduced from France. So the little owl isn't actually native for Britain as such. But they did very, very well. Over the last few years, I've noticed the numbers decline. There's a lot less about. But they're such comical little birds, and they bob their heads up and down when they see you, and they're blending so well. But there's nosy little sods. So they'll sit on a dry stone wall, and then they can't help themselves. If they know you're there, they'll peep over the top and look at you. Real little comics. And again, something I learned early days is when I was looking for these things is you can't walk into a field or a wall or towards a wall looking for these. You've got to go 2 fields away with a pair of binoculars and scan it. Scan everywhere and keep scanning because they'll 9 times out of 10 be there. When you get down to it, it's off they'll fly. So you've got to scan it and see where they are, and then go somewhere near, and then that nose will keep bobbing up and it's long-eared owl again. It's just stunning.
Again, just sat on that little perch, looking down.
And the colours. Well, again, it's time when the weather's probably dripping off a little bit, or maybe a bit tired. And rather than hunt, they'll sit on a post and they'll just sit there. Quite often do that. They'll sit on a post, and they've got, like dolphins, they've got a brain where half the brain can be asleep and the other half's awake. So they're constantly aware of what's going on around them. So it can be sleeping, but his brain's still still aware. So if he's heard something while he's asleep, he'll take advantage of that. He'll look down. And lots and lots of times I've done that where they've done nothing. I've just sat and waited and waited. And that's the problem when you get a lot of other people up there who, yeah, well, leave it at that. When you get a lot of other people up there, and they're a little bit impatient, and they'll go up to the thing and disturb it, and then off it'll fly, and you've lost it. If you can just just stand back a little bit or just wait, it's. But I mean, I've been to this place where there's been dog walkers and cyclists, and they've been up with their iPhones underneath the tree while the mother's been wanting to come back in with a vole to feed, and they've just.
Oh no!
It's bad.
Yeah,
but yeah,
no, it's not.
But if you just sit and wait, as I say, a lot of times when they're asleep, just sit and wait, and they'll hear something, and then you got a great opportunity then because you can anticipate, and you can always tell when they're going to fly. They'll usually have a shit before they fly, and bubble down, bubble down a bit, do a dump, and then they're off. So you've got those little telltales, and you can stick your shut speed up a little bit and anticipate and get some nice flight shots.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dump before you go.
No, they look for the post and have a look for shit because that's where they shit and then fly off.
Yeah. So that's Little Owl again, and that's in the eaves of that barn. I was saying this is the underfelt and the eaves of the barn. That's one of the young ones that's come out.
I'm saying the look on his face, like, do you mind? I'm on the toilet.
Yeah.
Give me a minute.
They're such comical faces, aren't they? And they're so angry. They're always bloody angry. You know, they're always pissed off these owls.
Yeah, they do like they've got eyebrows, aren't they, coming right up.
Big frown, isn't it?
Funny little things.
Yeah. Can't even go to the toilet in peace.
But yeah, absolutely fantastic, David. So, but yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Great.
Wow. It's been an absolute pleasure, as this, David. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Glad you enjoy looking at them.
Someone that wants to get into it, how would you? What advice would you give for them to go look out? What are the telltale signs if an owl's nearby or anything like that?
Well, I said Tawny owls around September, they'll start calling, and it's not easy at all. But if you persevere, you can hone it down. And a lot of these things, they'll have a roost that they'll use. I mean, in my woodland, when I eventually found it, the Tawny go back to the same roost time after time after time after time again, and they're in that same place. For owls in general, like your barn owls, around dusk, you know, if there's any old buildings about or open land, I just drive about for hours on end, up and down. And 9 times out of 10, there's plenty about. You'll see one, and then once you've found it, keep going back to the same spot, and you'll see it, and you see it in that same spot. And I mean, a lot of owls will have their own territory. Barn owls don't have a territory as such. They have a home range which will overlap other owls. That's why I've got an issue at the moment. I've got my barn owl box in one field and the Tawny owl box in the other field, and the Tawny's not happy at all. So if he sees the barn owl on the barn owl box, he'll come and he'll sit on it. He'll stay there. So excited, so it can.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen later in the year, but that might be quite interesting. But there's got cameras on them all, so that'd be an interesting story to develop. But yeah, just drive around at dusk, and they are about. And I say the little owls have got a very distinctive call. You can hear those. I think like with most nature is if you sit still and quiet in a place for long enough, you're going to see all sorts of things you didn't even know were there. People are very impatient, and I am an impatient person, but it makes you more patient. But you sit down behind a dry wall waiting for an owl saying, yeah, fox is coming back. There's all sorts of things come back, deer, all sorts. And it's incredible. You know, your hair's coming up to you. They don't know you're there. There's all sorts of things happening. But yeah, I drive around, look out for them on a night. The short-eared owls migrate over the winter. So they migrate and then over the summer, and then they'll come back in. So they're in now. And they'll be here until March. So from now, from just before now, around this time, they're coming into the coast. There's a lot more down south than up here at the moment, but they come in open marshes and salt flats and open countryside. And they're quite distinctive. If you just watch some videos of owls, they've got a very distinctive flap. I mean, and the thing is now, I can see a barn owl hundreds of yards away. I know exactly what it is, even though you can't really see what it is. I know what it is.
Yeah.
You can tell how it flies, its flying patterns and its hunting patterns. I say, then he calls it down, so you drive around, you'll see one, keep driving back to the same spot, and you'll see it again, and then it'll move across. So you follow that. This time of year, that's how I do it, and then you'll find that they will hunt because there's a lot of bad weather in this country, surprisingly. They'll have the little paths, so they'll have map routes, so they know when the weather's bad. There's a feast of owls in that area, and that's my road. It's almost like a road. That's my road I go to get to it. So once you've found a pattern, like I did with that barn, I found that by following it back in summer. In summer, it's a lot easier. When they're feeding young, he will catch, say, 14 voles an hour. So he's up, and in summer, he's bothered about feeding. He's not bothered about you. He's bothered about feeding his young. So if you see them diving down and catch, you're laughing, because you might not see where he goes first time, but you can see the direction he goes. He can move a bit further down, and just keep doing that, and you'll get to that point where you'll find out where they are, and then you don't get too close. Just keep a bit of distance away. But you once you know the flight path and where they're coming at that time of year, you've got it cracked. Because I just sit on the flight path and watch them come over me, and I fly backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. It's hard at this time of year because they're not feeding, but they still have the same little routes, still on little plants, and you'll find eventually you'll find out where they're nesting, in a wall or in a barn or in a tree or whatever. And then once you've got that, again, they're always going to go back to that place. So that's how you build up your core.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just perseverance, isn't it, really?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Perseverance.
It is perseverance.
And a lot of your images, it pays off.
A lot of luck. Yeah. And you've got to be lucky with it. So, yeah, the barn house, the short is nest on the ground in open fields. The long-eared owls nest in old rooks nests up in the trees. So, they're sort of conifer trees. Most conifer woodlands will have them in there. It's just finding them. But again, people are prepared to sit and wait. You sit and wait. You'll see something. It might not be what you want, but you'll see something. Eventually, you'll build it up. And there's a lot of people doing it. Surprisingly, there's a lot of people who actually go out doing this sort of thing. And once you build up and you sort of filter out the idiots, and you can get a few people who you can trust, then you can share things together and build it up that way. I love it, and I keep saying, I've been doing it 5 years now. I could do another project, and I'm not quite sure I can genuinely say to you, COVID came and went, and we went through that, and now I'm back out in Africa. I'm going out in 3 weeks. I'm back in Africa again, and then I'm going out in Nepal to shoot tigers in Rajasthan. So I've got lots of things coming up. But I can honestly say to you, I get as much excitement watching that long-eared owl in the field over Christmas, hovering above there, diving down, sitting on a wall next to me. I get as much of a buzz out of that as I do shooting the big cats. It's just getting to it, don't you? And it absorbs you.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your insight. It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Okay, fella. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, chaps. I hope you've enjoyed this insight into David's photography and the owls. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, you need to watch part 1, because the wildlife is shot in there is unbelievable. So, yeah. And again, thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, what is it, Daniel? How much does it cost to subscribe?
We've got an offer on for 2025. It's free. For 2025. Free all year.
You don't get that often.
Free.
If you've enjoyed this, please give us all a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.
Cheers now.